What happens when she becomes a cabinet secretary? She's not the only person. There are many others. Heko, my MP. And Victor Ijaika Bulemi from Vihiga says our Kenyan politicians are just rogue, greedy and selfish. They will only shout loud when they are seeking self-benefits. Most of the current senators were in the last parliament that approved the constitution before the referendum. We need discussions on how to tame this parliament. CDF must go to the counties. That is where the problem begins. Keep talking to us. Senator Kipchumba Murkomen is our guest tonight. Thank you for making time for the big question.
Thank you.
And Nicholas Gumbo, MP Rarieda, thank you so much for making time for the big question. It's a problem that has been building up, and we'll now show you some clips to show what has been happening in recent days.
We feel insulted when senior citizens of this country who have performed in the public service start to say that we didn't pass Monica Juma because we were bribed.
In the new move to change the constitution, this Senate 1 becomes the upper house properly in the constitution, Mr. Speaker. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, we should urge the country to move the vetting of appointees of the state that require parliamentary vetting to the Senate, Mr. Speaker. The reason we know, Mr. Speaker, Monica is being punished is because she has closed the ATM at OP. That is where people walk in, Mr. Speaker, and walk out with bulging envelopes. She has said no.
In fact, the president has also called for the two, they're called siblings actually, Senate and the National Assembly, to work together. Let's take a look at some other issues that the National Assembly has been blamed on or accused of doing. They were accused, and especially this coming from the Constitution Implementation Commission, CIC, and we can look at that, slashing budgets of whoever or whatever institution that is said to be touching them or, quarreling them in any way. 200 million was slashed from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. They had run-ins with the National Assembly. We also had a budget slashing, 1 billion from the Senate, is what Kipchumba Murkomen and the fellow senators were talking about. And we also had 800 million from the judiciary again, which has been at loggerheads with the National Assembly. Rarieda MP Nicholas Gumbo is here. I'll start by asking you, with what you have seen, has the National Assembly turned rogue?
Absolutely not, Hussein. I think we have observed strict fidelity to the Constitution. We've done our job very well. And honestly, what has been missing in this whole debate is no one has told us even one instance where we have abrogated our roles in observing the letter of the Constitution. I'll just give you an example. You've just given the example of the slashing of the budget of the judiciary, the slashing of the budget of the SRC, and the slashing of the budget of the Senate. Let me start with the SRC. The SRC needed this money to do job evaluation in the public service. What is not known to most Kenyans is that, in fact, this money had been provided for in the supplementary budget. Another thing that most Kenyans do not know is that if you look at the appropriations of the SRC last year and this year, it has gone up by nearly 300%. In fact, Hussein, one thing that is clear, and I think people should be asking, in all these complaints that are going on, it is claimed that we are slashing the budget of the SRC, the judiciary, and the Senate. And other than the Senate, honestly, the judiciary has not complained, the SRC has not complained. And I'll tell you why the judiciary has not complained. As of June 1st this year, the judiciary had only absorbed 51% of the budget allocations for last year. They have serious capacity issues. In fact, if you look at the last 1 month or so, the judiciary has been advertising for architects, for quantity surveyors, for engineers to be, because, and another thing that should come out clearly, the money that was taken was not for operations of the judiciary. It was for capital expenses.
We're coming to those issues shortly. I want to get Honorable Murkomen to respond to that. It's been said in the Senate that they've actually turned rogue. You're accusing them of that. Why?
By the way, Hussein, the National Assembly is composed of 350 members.
MPs, yes.
It's a huge house. Some have joked that it's like a three-streamed high school. But as a matter of fact, the National Assembly members, as so many of them are very good men and women. The problem, the crisis of National Assembly is what John Maxwell said, that everything starts and ends with leadership. The problem of National Assembly is about the leadership. Otherwise, the complaints we are making as senators, the complaints that independent institutions are making, the complaints that Kenyan people are making, are actually being made by many members of National Assembly who feel that their house has been generated to be a rogue institution. If you ask any Kenyan today, when you mention the word National Assembly, what comes to your mind? They will tell you it is tyranny. It will tell you that there is something about corruption. It will tell you that it's something about violence. It will tell you that it's something about bribery. It's something about... By the way, Honorable Gumbo, whom I so much respect, and unfortunately you brought the good guy here, has just been appointed to be the chair of PAC, elected, actually faced stiff challenges from those who thought that they didn't need good persons to head that institution, because they needed to salvage the image of National Assembly. It's a house under crisis. There's never been a time where two committees of parliament are under investigations. Already we have so many members of parliament and previous members of parliament being investigated because of matters of CDF and so forth. Okay. So the facts speak for itself. And let me I will say again and again, Hussein, that the problem is in the leadership. The leadership of the House has created an environment that has made that parliament be run like a rogue institution. By leadership, what do you mean? I mean the speaker, the majority leader, the minority leader, the chairman. If you think, see the way Reverend Musimi was speaking. Reverend Mutava Musimi was hoodwinked us at some point in time that he could be something in this country. Abraham Lincoln said that if you want, all men stand adversity, but if you want to test the true character of a man, give him power. Those people have just been given little power, but you can see the way they are misusing that power. Look at how the majority leader behaves. You know, insulting people in the name of their mothers. You know, let me tell you, say, if you told anyone who comes from another country, that is Duale you're talking about. That, yes, if you told anyone on earth that is the face of Parliament. I mean, if you say the House leader of Congress behaves in that manner, the face of the country is these are things, I mean, in Honorable Murkomen, with respect to what you're saying, these are things that have been happened actually a while back. Why is it now that you have this problem? I want to say this for Kenyans to know, and publicly to know, that I have stomached these problems for them. I have petitioned to all institutions to try to tame some of these leaders of National Assembly. I have even gone ahead to push for a dialogue to ensure that you have a Speaker of National Assembly, you have a majority leader, and I am more concerned about the side that comes from Jubilee, because the representation they are giving is as though, you know, those of us who are in the majority are actually a representation of all of them. Okay. And I am saying this, that today, it is the first time that I have let my secret out, that, you know, when you are unable to tame certain people, their character and behavior is not necessarily going to add as any other extra vote. And that Kenyans must know that, so that they realize... You're talking about Duale? I'm talking about Duale, I'm talking about Muturi, I'm talking about this chairman, the Reverend, somebody was calling him the wrong Reverend. I'm talking about a number of people who have created a face in Jubilee as though, and in Parliament, as though all of us are subscribing to those behaviors. We have stomached it for too long. I mean, honestly, what kind of a face is that in this country? I want to get a response from
Hussein, I think, with all due respect, Senator Murkomen is a man I do truly respect. But let us not sidestep the issue. The Senate has been stung because 1 billion shillings was removed from money they supposedly wanted to use for oversight. Honestly, from where I sit, I can't understand what the Senate needed the money for. Because if you look at the role, and by the way, senators, just like ourselves, are members of Parliament. If you look at the roles of members of Parliament, we have 3 distinct roles: legislation, making laws, and providing oversight. How are we facilitated to do oversight? We are facilitated to do oversight through the salaries we are paid, We are facilitated to do oversight through the vehicles we are bought for. We are facilitated to do oversight through the mileage claims that we make. And in fact, we are facilitated to do oversight through the appropriations that we give the Parliamentary Service Commission.
Yeah.
So really, for the Senate, and I have only the highest respect for members of the Senate, to say that they wanted 1 billion shillings to do oversight, I am at a loss. What oversight is this?
Is that okay? Yeah. I want you to answer, and I want you to be specific. I mean, he's saying all this problem is coming up now because of slashing 1 billion for oversight that the Senate wanted.
Not at all. The problem of National Assembly started with Division of Revenue 2013. There was no 1 billion. This year, we increased the money going to counties by 7 billion. And I want to tell you, they debated. They were on the floor of the House. The money that we increased to go to counties, half of it was going to level 5 hospital, which are 11. Those hospitals include Garissa level 5 hospital that is going to assist and treat people who are suffering from snake bites. Elgeyo Marakwet does not have level 5 hospital. In any case, Embu has a level 5 hospital, Garissa has a level 5 hospital. Reverend Mushimi and Honorable Duale are greater beneficiaries of that allocation. Their own people who voted for them are greater beneficiaries of those resources than most of us. The Senate is being abused, attacked because of that responsibility of increasing the money to go to the county. Nothing much, nothing else. The debate on the floor of the House was that we want to remove the allocation. And in any case, let me tell you, we never allocated ourselves that 1 billion, and we don't even care about that 1 billion. If they had removed the 1 billion and never said anything about that we are removing it to punish Senate. I mean, the chair himself was saying there, this Senate, because they have increased this money, let's remove the 1 billion, because the judiciary, and they are on record, because the judiciary made a decision against the CDF and Division of Revenue, let's remove it. Because SRC has refused to increase our salary, let's remove it. Honestly,
can you deny that? Because it was on record. Can you deny that?
Well, if I would, I don't know who said that, but honestly, Hussein, I don't think we can leave this issue. The Senate has said time and time again that they need the 1 billion to do oversight. And I'm saying here that as members of Parliament, we already have adequate provisions for oversight. So, and then suppose it was given to them. I would wish the good senator here to tell us, how was this money, where is the framework for distributing this money? Look at the, for example, the affirmative action bill that we passed for the women representatives. There is a law, there is a board. What was this money going to do?
But you can't speak for all MPs, can you?
Well, I can speak myself from where I sit, because you see,
the National Assembly,
part of our work, I was saying, don't forget, is to safeguard public resources.
Yes.
And we will safeguard public resources by ensuring that the appropriations that are done, when we give out money, it is given in accordance with the law.
Right.
How was this 1 billion shillings going to be given? We have said, and I want the senator to deny it, this money was going to be used for political activities.
There are so many, you'll respond shortly, but there are so many people and institutions, like we have quoted the CIC, which has actually threatened to go to court, that have said some of these decisions were, were very selfish, and we showed that a National Assembly is reacting to anyone who may have stung it the wrong way. You cannot speak. Can you speak for all MPs?
I cannot speak for all MPs.
So the question is, could some have done this purposely for this?
If they did, I want to stick with the law. My position is that the CIC that you're quoting, in my view, has become activist, and they have completely gone out of their mandate. When the CIC, for example, tries to inject Parliament, when Parliament is doing what it is constitutionally mandated to do, that is activism. What we should be told, for example, when I saw the chair of CIC fuming, he should have told us that this is the article of the Constitution that you have violated by doing this. He did not say it. All he's saying is that what we have done is not in accordance with the behavior of a public.
And the spirit of the Constitution, is it? Do you think it is?
Which article? Did he quote a single article?
Let me quote it. Hussein, the point is this. We never allocated ourselves the 1 billion. We have no power to do it. It was allocated before we went for the mediation of Division of Revenue by the same committee. They made a strong case that Senate requires an oversight resources themselves, and through the Parliamentary Service Commission, they allocated the money and they removed it themselves. That's what I'm saying. And we are told some of the arguments, the reason why they wanted to allocate the 1 billion was to say that because CDF we need to jointly, all of us, National Assembly and Senate, save CDF. Let's also allocate counties oversight. Indeed, a case can be made about the need for Senator Murkomen to reach all parts of Elgeyo Marakwet County to carry out an oversight of the functions that are going on in that county. But even if it's not there, it doesn't stop us from doing our work. Let me come to the point. The argument the National Assembly gave, which is that the reason why they're removing that resources because so-and-so has criticized them, so-and-so has made certain decision, Nyachai is supposedly being an activist. What's wrong with being an activist? I mean, if someone chooses to be an activist, goes to court of law that is required by the constitution of this country, you punish them. And Senator Bill Okero put it very well yesterday in his submissions, that Chapter 6 talks about being servant leaders of in this country, that if one abuses that position that he has against the other institutions, that amounts to abuse on office, and that's actionable. And that is why Charles Nyachai was saying he can take action under Chapter 6 against the National Assembly for abuse of office.
I have listened to, of course, Nyachai as usual took a one-page advert and wrote all manner of things, which in my view didn't mean anything, because it was going round and round and round about the Constitution, quoting irrelevant articles of the Constitution. See? Look, the case that Nyachai was talking about, the most recent case, is the approval, the rejection of Monica Juma. The Constitution expressly gives Parliament, not Parliament, by the way, the National Assembly, powers to approve. You cannot be given powers to approve if you're not also given powers to disapprove. And Hussein, there's a point here that people are missing completely. People are thinking that this is the first time we have rejected a presidential nominee. Far from it. There's a gentleman called Kiragu Mwagochi, who was nominated twice to be the chair of TSC. We rejected him with good grounds. I have even had arguments that this was a paternalist. I mean, we're trying to patronize Parliament, the National Assembly is become paternalistic and all those kinds of... It's not true.
Okay. Yeah. The way you're dismissing CIC is one of the reasons why you would think some people, in fact, Kenyans are saying you're being arrogant in the way you're handling things. They have every right to criticize and say this is wrong. On the issue of Monica Juma, CIC is not saying Parliament does not have the right to approve or reject. It's the manner in which this was done.
Which manner? Is on the issue of Monica Juma, let me speak for myself as the Member of Parliament for Rarieda, and I've been very consistent on this. I said I voted to reject her, and from where I sit, I have no regrets about it because I think I did the right thing. I'll tell you why. The Constitution is very clear that the sovereignty of the Republic belongs to the people. That sovereignty can either be exercised directly or through democratically elected leaders. The people of Rarieda, the 150,000 of them, cannot come to the National Assembly. When I speak, I am speaking for them. When I go to look for a service, I'm looking for that service for them. If it is a personal service, that's a different matter. When members, 163 of them, say that on the occasions that we have tried to use this public office to foster the representation function of our people, we are rebuffed. How do you convert a public office into a private office?
I actually don't have a problem with Parliament exercising, denying or rejecting their person. What Nyachai said, and when many Kenyans are saying, you have completed your process, but Kenyans are saying that what you did was illegal. You cannot again berate them for now saying we'll take an action, the next step, which is the court, to declare that what you did was wrong. And if you want to know that what they did is wrong, is that they used rumors. There was no documented evidence. They used rumors and evidence that was within MPs themselves, saying that, oh, you know, we went there, she rejected us and so forth. But second, and even the contradiction that is in place, many of the National Assembly members have said that Dr. Monica Juma is good, but she's not good for an office like the PS Internal Security because she comes into contact with so many people who are dealing with matters that are on grassroots. If that was the only reason, why then did they not approve her to go and sit in an office where she was just being secretary to the cabinet without having any contact with them again?
Okay.
What contradiction is that?
We are running out of time. Very briefly, you are now saying you want to support a referendum to cut them down to size. What referendum or who's?
No, sorry. I think it's important for me to make it clear here that we have as I said, we have no problem with National Assembly as an institution. It's the people who are there now. If there were different people in future, it would be very easy to handle. In UK, they don't have a constitution, but you have a system that is working because there is civility. But what we are saying as a Senate is that we want to sit now down in a very sober way, look at the constitutional issues that are going to strengthen matters of devolution, sit down, bring them on the table, then we now decide whether they require legislative action or constitutional amendments, and then ultimately, and that process must not be seen as against the National Assembly. It's for the better good of the country.
But it may touch on the powers of the National Assembly.
It may touch on the powers of the National Assembly, it may touch on the Senate powers, it may touch on other institutions, but that process will be consultative and will be able to reach there.
Okay, I'll let him respond, but let me ask you this question again. I know I asked you earlier. The issue of the 1 billion, which he is saying this is where the biggest problem from the Senate is coming, again comes to mind. There have been these calls before. The governors were up in arms against the National Assembly.
Yeah.
The Senate did not support the governors then. The governors wanted to, change all these issues in the Constitution to strengthen devolution. The Senate did not support them then. Why is the Senate supporting them now? That is a lie.
The Senate has consistently supported a process for strengthening devolution. In fact, personally, and I have been here several times, saying it over and over again, that we had no problem with amending the Constitution, we had no problem with devolution, we had no problem with referendum. The only thing that remained, and I said it in the Senate, and I must be quoted nationally, that the only thing is about timing. Okay. The reason why I told my friends in Pesa Mashinani and Okoa, Kenya, that they must go slow is because of the timing. And let me come to this point. Even those drafts of Okoa, Kenya, by the way, it's clear that they have nothing in mind on matters devolution. Go and look at their draft.
Oh, specifically talking about
exactly. They are only talking about IEBC.
All right. Let me get a response from Honorable Gumbo.
I think the problem that we have, and Hussein, I think the time has come when we can't continue calling a spade a big spoon. The Constitution, as currently constructed, makes the Senate a lower house. And you can call it whichever name you want. And if my good friend Honorable Senator Murkomen has a problem with that, I think the people should be asking, for example, people like Senator Moses Wetangula, Senator Amos Wako, because not even there before, they sat in the select committee which was responsible for reviewing the Constitution, Senator Anyang' Nyong'o, but all these fellows, Senator Kiraitu Murungi. So really, where we are, and I can tell you, look at what we are talking about now. As constructed now, the role of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is no different from the role of the National Council of Provinces of South Africa.
Okay.
But I'll
give you the final comment. But as you wind up now, tell me, you're talking about all these things you're doing within legal parameters and your mandate.
Yes.
Does anybody advise, this is generally, you can speak for yourself as a Rarieda Member of Parliament, does anybody advise the Rarieda Member of Parliament on what to do in the National Assembly if you're saying you're representing the people of Rarieda? For instance, the issue of Monica Juma. Why you're saying you're representing the people of Rarieda, which is true.
Let me tell you.
Do you think MPs consult the people on what they are supposed to do?
I will tell you. I voted against Monica Juma, and I'll tell you why. Other than being Member of Parliament for Rarieda, I'm also the chair of the Public Accounts Committee. The work of a Member of Parliament, a representative of the people, we get a lot of information from the people of Kenya. One of the people who approached me told me that, this approval process, just give me a few minutes, approval process is being rushed. We have a problem with the way the tender for the medical insurance for the police is being handled. We have a problem with the way Monica Juma...
You would say before you do such a thing, sorry, you would say before you do such a thing,
yes,
you have consulted.
A lot of feedback, not just from the people of Rarieda. Remember, we are the National Assembly.
Okay.
Let me just conclude. You've heard the chair of IPOA talking of a letter which Monica Juma wrote. Kenyans are not asking what was the genesis of this letter. The genesis of this letter, according to one of the people who came to us, was that when there was this defective recruitment of the police, IPOA went to court. Following the incidents in northern Kenya, the president ordered that the recruits go to
Kiganjo.
To Kiganjo.
Yes.
But this it is now being, and this is something that I am asking the Security Committee of Parliament to investigate. It is now being said that the president reacted on advice of Monica Juma, and Monica Juma had assured her according to what we are being told, that IPOA was willing to withdraw the case.
Okay.
And now, after IPOA refused to withdraw the case, what the letter we are being told, it is alleged that she wrote a rude letter to them. That would infringe on Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
To Kenyans then, we're winding up, to Kenyans then, it will look like a supremacy battle between the Senate and the National Assembly. It doesn't help them.
There is no supremacy battle. As it is now, the Senate, by the way, the roles of the Senate, and my good friend here can correct me if I'm wrong, it has got to do with supervising the counties and ensuring the county allocation of revenue. I don't see any other role. If you are going to war, it is the National Assembly. It's coming to appropriation of public resources. It's the National Assembly. Really.
Let Murkomen finish it up. 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, well, but you gave him a lot of time.
I also gave you time prior.
No, that's why I'm saying that there is no problem with the law. The problem is that you have infantile behavior in the National Assembly coupled with the lack of appreciation of the Constitution. And the point also must be made here that the issue here is about leadership. The law gives us too much responsibilities. In fact, we are so busy in the Senate that I would not be worried about adding more responsibilities. The main problem why we have to go for sanctity provisions of the Constitution is because you have people here who have no spirit of the Constitution. And let me tell you, the reason why we are taking this action, and I told the Senate we have to do this action, is because 2013 we tried, we were defeated. The courts made decision. 2014 we participated in division of revenue. Now, instead of me putting my legacy and reputation on the line, I don't want my grandchildren to ask you when you were there, what did you do? We want to do something, and a journey of 1,000 miles can start with one step.
Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen and Nicholas Gumbo, thank you so much for making time for the big question tonight. We're asking you again, has the National Assembly turned rogue? Keep talking to us on 22422 on Twitter using the hashtag. The big question. You're back after this break.